3, 2, 1.
There's a really fine line between patting yourself on the back and then tearing yourself apart. And it's good to be critical, but I also see so many extremes. I see really talented people that are so critical that they never put it to use, and like their brilliance just sort of dies, on a couch,
Yeah.
And then there's other people that are like extremely driven, but they're driven sort of by like narcissism and self-centeredness. But that actually like achieves them getting themselves out there. And then there's this like sweet spot where people aren't necessarily, like totally self-centered, but they're just sort of realistic about, you got to work hard and you have to put yourself out there, and you just have to bite the bullet and show up if you're going to get, do anything. And if you can put aside that like hypercritical voice, and just pull it out in, like a tool, it's kind of like if you're building a house, like you don't always keep your drill in your hand, or your hammer or whatever, you're like sledgehammer, you know what I mean? You bring it out sometimes, but it's wise to wield that sort of self analysis hammer tastefully.
Very well said. Yeah. It's hard. It is so hard to find that sweet spot.
Yeah.
And like,
because you do like have to be a little bit narcissistic to kind of go ahead with it in the first place. But like there's definitely a fine line.
Yeah.
It has to be kind of backed by the passion, right? And
Yeah.
the willingness to just do it for fun.
Yeah.
Do it because you want to, and not because.
Sorry, not to interrupt you. No. Keep going, but should I turn on voice isolation?
No, it'll definitely cut you mega.
That kind of just cut out a bit.
Yeah, it's the compressor is like super limiting on it.
Okay, gotcha. So standard, and I'm gonna go noise control offs. No, I'm gonna go transparency. There we go. Okay, sorry, I'm fully amateur right now.
No, man, don't worry about
Normally, what I want to do is, and it'll make sense if I show you the rest of the studio space, because there's like different vignettes for every need. So you've got like your drum vignette, your guitar stuff, like there's 2 guest rooms, which I'm really excited to have, just because it means people can, let loose and actually like spend the night and maybe like, because normally when you're working with bands, it's like, oh yeah, I'd love to have more than just like a beer, but I got to drive back tonight. It's like, you've got a room,
exactly.
You've got a box of wine, and then you end up actually doing like your best work at like 4 a.m. But
you don't want to have those limitations on having to just go home. It's just like, no, we're gonna make something here.
Yeah, it's got to be like an experience. It should be magic and whimsy. Anyway, I would like to actually have like a proper Zoom, or in your case, Teams setup.
Yeah.
Teams,
but I'm too ambitious, and we've only been here 6 weeks, so it's the iPhone, and Anyway,
so you're in BC, just outside of Vancouver, then somewhere, or I don't know if you want.
Yeah. No, I don't care. Was living in Vancouver. Well, I grew up on Vancouver Island, then I moved to Vancouver. Then I moved to New Westminster, which was kind of fun because it's just outside of Vancouver. But when you drive east, because Vancouver is kind of like the west, trying to do it so that it makes sense to you. But basically, yeah, okay. So Vancouver is like the, western side of Canada. And then as you drive east, to go to the next major city, there's all these little towns that are actually so beautiful. And one of them has like the worst name. It's called Chilliwack, which sounds chill, but it also sounds whack. And
like the band, right?
And every time, actually. Actually, I don't even know if they're from Chilliwack. I should know that, but anyway, so
Maybe, yeah.
as you drive past Chilliwack, there's all these mountains and lakes and rivers and stuff. And that's about an hour and a half east of Vancouver. So every time the band would be leaving town, we'd drive through it. I'm like, this is so beautiful. Why don't more people talk about it? And it's like, for some reason, when you're in your 20s, it's like people kind of talk shit on the small suburbs, that everyone's just like, has to be a major city. But then as you get older, you realize there's only so much you need in a big city. And then you start to see all the benefits of a small city. Anyway, I met a lady, we fell in love. We got engaged like within a week, and we had a baby, and we're just smitten. And she was living in Chilliwack at the time, and we were kind of like, Chilliwack's a little bit not quite right, but there's a small town where her parents live called Cultus Lake, and it's just this tiny like tourist destination, and it's just beautiful. It's just a massive lake with all these adorable kind of cottages and stuff. And so we're like, let's just leave the city. Let's move there. So that was the plan. And then we ended up moving to a place called Lindell Beach, which I thought it was Cultus Lake, but turns out when I registered my license, they're like, oh, that's actually Lindell Beach. So now I live in Lindell Beach, and it's a very, very small town. It's probably like 200 people or something like that. But I'm obsessed with small town life officially because I'm a hermit.
Yeah. Well, it's small town BC is beautiful though. Like,
yeah.
My fiance's dad lives in the Shuswap area around Blind Bay. So we traveled through there.
Oh, man.
All like every summer we go there and stuff like that. And then like we travel down, like last summer we went through to Seattle. So driving down through there and then all through those little towns.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like, yeah, it's beautiful. So like, BC life is pretty chill, man.
Another weird name, but yeah, Shuswap. It's such a beautiful place. And that's like even more remote, but there's all these places on the way to the Shuswaps, like Peachland is one spot, which is so awesome. I kind of don't even want to tell people about how great BC is because I don't want it to just like, you
don't want it too.
America's always like America's like it's the best country in the world, but then they get mad when people try and move there.
Right. Exactly.
I'm kind of like, BC is fine.
It's all right.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, but it is so chill and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful
place to be. So yeah, it's great place to.
Where are you guys based out of now?
Grand Prairie.
We're in Grand Prairie, Alberta. So.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So do you know
the freaking
Deer
Arctic?
Rouge?
What's that? Sorry.
Do you know Deer Rouge from Red Deer?
No.
Deer
Oh,
Rouge.
okay. They're a band from although that's not Alberta, but that's like
That sounds super.
Well, wait, is Red Deer?
Red Deer is in Alberta.
Deer's
Red Deer is
Saskatchewan,
between Red Deer is between Edmonton and Calgary.
Edmonton, Calgary, I should say.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so it is Alberta. Sorry, I'm blanking. Anyway, they, I convinced them to move to Cultus Lake before I even ever seriously considered moving here, and they did it. And so, and then I just ran into them last night at the Canadian Tire in Chilliwack. So
Nice. Small world.
great.
True Canadian story.
True Canadian heritage moment.
Yeah, and in Canadian Tire, there was a guy checking out beside me who was wearing a toque, and he was buying a hockey stick in Canadian Tire, and I was like, oh, and he had a plaid shirt on. I was like, man, it's so quintessential.
If only he
Canada. I love it.
drinking the Tim Hortons as well in the other hand while carrying the Sherwood hockey stick in the other.
Yeah, he's sick.
Yeah, well, like I kind of got a bit jaded in Vancouver because everybody, I don't know, it's just like everyone wants to be so, I don't know, big city. And I'm like,
So cool.
there's beauty everywhere, like you can get excited about small town vibes too. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Especially like now, especially like being a musician and stuff. I mean, it's really cool to be in the same room with people and, all that kind of stuff. You don't always need to be in the same room with everybody. And that world is different now. And it's cool to be, I don't know, I like being isolated, like to do music. It's, I don't know, something about it. You're doing that, not anything else kind of thing.
Yeah, like I tried moving to Toronto. I moved to LA for a while, and it doesn't matter where I lived. If my drive from when the coffee kicks in to when I start creating, if that gap is more than, I don't know, 5 minutes, I kind of lose my mind. And then I don't know. Yeah. And then as I kind of got more into studio life, eventually I just decided I needed to have a home studio. And so I've tried every size of home studio possible. I've done, laptop, like in the back of the tour van or on the bus. I've done like rented, proper big studios. Then I rented smaller studios where I had all the gear. I've done like the office space. I've done, shared studios. I've had interns. I've had assistants. I've any sort of possible arrangement to see what is the most efficient, in terms of just sheer like productivity hours and maximum creative inspiration. I've tried it all, and at the end of the day, I think it's just like I consider myself like someone who's just like walking around with just a bunch of gear on me at all times. Like I saw this photo of Steve Wozniak, like the other Steve who started Apple, and it was his like backpack that he travels with, and he laid it out on a bed, and it was like a queen size bed just covered in every adapter and gadget and everything you could possibly ever need in this hotel room. And I've kind of been living like that for 20 years. And yeah, I think I'm just like, for example, like this, it's an old Bluetooth, or it's an old MIDI keyboard, but it has Bluetooth in it.
Nice.
And you can't get very many of these things. They're hard to find. And then I taped a ruler on it, because I love magnets. And then you can just be like,
oh,
boom.
yeah.
It just,
That's actually a sick idea.
pops, like,
I'm not going to lie.
Check this out. So right here, it's magnetic. You know what I mean? And like friggin' magnets are where it's at. You know
Dude,
what I
that's
mean?
a sick
Like you got to get the
idea,
heavy duty
man.
ones.
Oh yeah.
And then,
shit.
and same with these, like these are the Elgato Stream Decks, and you can just customize them, program them to basically do batch commands of anything you can think of. And then like, I like to have, and this was me on the road all the time, but now it's just at home finally. So it's like this little charging station from some like box that I found at like Home Sense or some bullshit. And then, like more magnets, you know what I mean? And then
Custom. Yeah.
And then this is like, this converts any MIDI keyboard and makes it wireless, like Bluetooth MIDI.
Oh, that's actually sick.
Right? And then like little things like this, like for your headphones, like, oh, what? And then just
What?
This is such a
Dude,
way. So this is like it's all like a custom desk, right? Where
that's a wicked idea.
Because wood is so great. It's malleable. Like when I moved in here, I was like, I don't want to have like all my rack gear right in here. So, just with scrap wood, built this little like rack.
That looks
thing,
wicked, actually.
in like half an hour. And
So
I
did you
love
build that
wood
desk in that room?
I love cable wraps. What's that? Sorry.
Did you build that desk in that room, or did you
No,
move it in pieces?
this was actually built by a guy that was going to do this for a living, and then he realized it was way too much work for not enough money. So this is the only one he ever did. But I keep modifying it. Like I had a little wine shelf at one point that I had it on, and then this is like some like Amazon shelf, and then I found like on Marketplace free, I found like a keyboard tray. So basically like you can kind of like hide your hide your things,
That's actually sick.
and this is I love like things that hide. Like I want to have secret like libraries that, you over and stuff eventually.
Like
but
a bookshelf
just secret rooms. Yeah. Or bookshelf. Yeah.
bookshelf
that
door
leads into a library of banned books or something.
Yeah.
or even if
The
it was
little
like a
Narnia
little
space.
guitar room or like record room or something,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The door to
exactly. But yeah, like little I love having gadgets everywhere and things that will make your workflow just more slick.
Yeah. Just can't stop that creative process, even
I
when
like
it comes
that.
to like your processes and how you like where you keep things, right? Like that's amazing.
Oh, totally. And that's why I love like magnets and wood so much, because it's just I always want to be able to like change things and switch it around. Like even like why I was late doing this podcast was because I was like, oh, I can't use my laptop camera. I got to use the iPhone. And then so I used this like camera arm that I got on Temu, which was like, I don't know if you've explored Temu much, but it is just it's a blast.
Love it.
There's everything you ever wanted and more besides.
I'm gonna wait. Oh, it's such a shitstorm in there. Okay, maybe I'll show you later if we take 5, and I'll show you the rest of the space. But anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Music, podcasts, fun.
No, man, I love all this.
That's the fun of doing the podcast.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Just having fun.
Because we could start at the beginning of your stuff, but I love all this kind of free flow conversation stuff too, right? I love this.
Well, I'm kind of bored of my own.
Been there.
So
You've talked about it more than once.
Yeah. So it's like, would I rather talk about my latest Temu haul? Sure.
I mean, it's one hell of an app.
Will people?
Like these,
it's dark.
These lights we got up here, I think maybe have been a Temu purchase.
To the Amazon special, that's for sure.
Man, that's fun. Yeah, the
grassroots.
You're kind of talking my language right now, because what I'm trying to set up is not for streaming, although I guess maybe I could do that, but I'm gonna have cameras in each room with just like a little TV where it's like kind of like security cams, so that you can like talk to each other when you're recording in different rooms. But what I'm doing right now is audio over Ethernet, which is kind of a trip. You can get these little boxes from Temu. And
I didn't know you can get them.
And so you can just run like it has to be a shielded Ethernet cable, which is just a little bit fancier, but yeah, like you can run 4 channels of audio across Ethernet. And when we moved into this place, in the basement, there's like a utility room with just dozens of just dangling Ethernet cables, and they didn't have any ends to them. So ordered a bunch of adapters and stuff from Temu, and I've been like teaching myself like how to do audio networking and all this stuff. And
it's cool. You can build really
sick
snakes with those. That's the best. Like you can build like lightweight snakes and stuff like that. You can also do multiple streams of video. So like you can use them like an old style BNC cable, but you can have multiple cameras run over one camera or one over one line kind of thing and stuff like that. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with Cat 5.
You got to send me a link to that, because that's what I'm trying to figure out.
It's basically the same thing for both. Like you can use it so much for video, and then you can use the other half for audio and stuff like. There's all these different ways you can situate the plugs essentially, and it does all kinds of different things. So yeah.
That's so fun. Yeah, because there's Ethernet ports in every room, and then with having a 10-month-old baby, it's like you kind of. We're walking around with this like baby monitor all the time. And there's all sorts of issues with having like those baby monitors, but it would be nice just to have like essentially like a 1984 style, like just camera watching her in every room, because, like you dart out just to like grab an apple or something, and then you look back and she's like rolling down the stairs. Not that that's happened yet, but those are
Potentially, it could.
Not yet.
fears.
It happens to almost everybody though.
Yeah.
My kid almost fell out. Pretty
I,
much.
I
caught him
definitely
when he
know
fell
my
off.
parents dropped me like a ton. I mean, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you turned out fine.
No,
It's
yeah,
fine.
you turned out pretty good. I don't know if
It's all fine.
it must have been from very high. It
Yeah.
must have been just from a low.
Yeah,
Low
yeah.
height.
That's what we're hoping.
Couch drop on the shed
Actually,
carpet.
what's the origins? And the year was 1985. Like, where is that? What's the origin of that year specifically?
So it's the year that we were both born. So like we grew up together. Like we've known each other since, like forever, kind of thing or whatever. So we were born in 1985, and the original premise behind the whole podcast was to sit and interview my buddies because we're all from Newfoundland. We all grew up together, but there's a bunch of us that live here now. So I was like, well, if I could get all my friends together, kind of thing, and kind of tell stories about growing up in the 90s was kind of like the idea of it. But it only got 2 episodes of that.
Sweet.
And then it turned into like us doing 90s pop culture stuff, which was way more fun.
Fun.
And then it kind of just rolled eventually into like, okay, so we've done a bunch of kind of content. Like, we've gone over a bunch of stuff. It'd be really cool to talk to some of these people who done that stuff, like, who are involved in all these things that we've talked about and whatever. So we decided one day to put some names on paper and start reaching out. And yeah, it's kind of just snowballed from there. Kind of
And then
It's an ever evolving project.
Yeah, just kinda
kind of thing.
doing its
I
own
mean,
thing.
what was how did you end up interviewing David Bottrell? Because I'm a fan of his work, but I went to Africa with him for 3 weeks once, which is
What?
yeah.
Okay,
which
well,
is-
tell us about that.
Well, it was for a documentary, and it was kind of confusing because it had all these different goals. It was like we were shooting a documentary about the genocide that happened there, but then also teaching kids at schools about why music is awesome. But they're like kids that were orphans because their parents died from AIDS. So it was like also connected to like kind of AIDS awareness in Africa. It had a lot of goals, and then somewhere in there, we were making an album with local musicians from Rwanda. Yeah, it's kind of blurry, but there's 2 memories I have that were kind of funny with him. Well, one was just I remember he was setting up the mics and stuff. And then he was like, I shouldn't have had that beer. I can just tell, like, my ears are different. Yeah, I was just like, you shouldn't have had a beer. Wow. Because I'm like, doing full albums, for bands with definitely more than a beer, but that's probably why he's more successful though. So that makes sense. And then another time I remember there's just like this local hot sauce there that's just like crazy, like legendary level of heat. And he scratched his eye at one point, and then he was just losing his mind because his eye was falling out of the socket, kind of thing. But he's a rad dude. He's a rad dude. Anyway.
Yeah,
No, that's great. That's cool. It's cool that you guys had that connection.
that's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I seen something about the documentary, but it didn't describe anything about, like, when we were doing some research, of course, right? It didn't describe much about it, though. To be fair, so I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just.
I know. I kind of want to do my own edit of it because there was a lot. It's weird. Like, I've never been in a documentary really before, and it's like you've got cameras following around for 3 weeks, and then it gets cut down to like an hour, and it's kind of like, oh man, like I know for a fact there's so much great stuff that I would have put in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when it's like an educational documentary, your hands are kind of tied. But I'd love to do sort of a, I don't know, not a director's cut, but like an asshole cut where it's just like a completely different goal.
The extended edition or whatever.
Who would you like to do a documentary on?
Okay. I would love to do a documentary on 2 people. One that I actually might do, and then, but off the top of my head, like Kyle Mooney from SNL. He's just sort of like, he was a background character for the last 7 years, but
Yeah.
he just did these really great internet comedy skits for years, and he's done well, but I feel like his brilliance wasn't captured on the SNL, and I kind of just have followed him like over the years, and I'm like, man, somebody's got to capture the real Kyle Mooney. Anyways, I think that way about a lot of random characters. Also, I'd love to do a follow-up on Mark Borchardt from American Movie. Did you ever see American Movie, the documentary about the guy that was making the horror movie? It's like 20 years old. It was shot on film.
No.
I don't think so. No.
It's probably the greatest documentary ever made, I think. So just remember American Movie.
American Movie. I've
It's
heard
about
of
the
it, but I
making
don't
of
think I've seen
of
it.
a horror movie.
I don't think so, but I will check it out
I will.
because
Yeah,
I like
I-
documentaries. That's
I would love to just see constant footage of him. Like I could just watch like security footage of him for the rest of my life and be happy. Also, there's a local musician guy that I met when I was living on. I was living on a fishing boat for a while, and I would go to and it didn't have water, so I'd go to this gym to basically use their showers. And then I met this guy who was living in a van, and he's just like this long hair, kind of looks like a wrestler almost, type of guy. And he does this, he programs, he's like a one-man band, but it's all with software that's proprietary to his like insane brain.
Oh,
Wow.
somebody showed me this a while ago. What?
Yeah, like it's like at one point Beck asked him to tour with him, and he did some shows with Beck, and then Beck was like, this is insane, do you want to come to Europe? And he's like, no, I've learned too much from this tour, I need to like rebuild my system from the ground up. Like,
Wow.
he's just like,
Well,
which is something that I could see myself doing, just being like, gotta end the tour, I've learned too much, I gotta go tweak knobs and like
I need to go
reprogram
build
shit.
a new synth. I'll be right back.
I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't do this like life-changing tour.
That's crazy. But
Anyway,
I think I know
so
the
he
dude you're
just
talking about.
busks on Granville Island, and then a friend of mine is getting him on his talent. He's got like a talent show called Talent Time, Paul Anthony's Talent Time, and I just help him create weird footage and stuff for it sometimes, or like I did like the theme song, and I'll like edit weird skits for him and stuff, just as an excuse for us to hang out, because I can't really socialize with people if it's just based on friendship. Like, it needs to be doing something like, yeah, anyway. So but I was shooting some green screen footage for my buddy, and he was telling me he's getting him on the show. And I was like, okay, that seals the deal. It's New Year's Eve. I'm going to come check out the show, and then we're going to lock down doing this documentary of this fella. Because I have all the lenses, I have the gear. I love documentaries, are my favorite type of entertainment. Like, even with Hot at Heat on the road, we would, go to record shops and stuff all the time, and the guys were buying like vinyl, and I was just like buying obscure documentary DVDs and stuff. And originally, like, that was my goal. Was I got a computer in like 99 to start cutting together documentaries. So I was like making these little trippy short films, and then I ended up there. I got like some crack software to record myself, and then I started
Get that crack Cubase going.
like just dicking around. And then when Napster came out,
Ooh, baby.
you could download music from people, but you could also kind of scour their hard drive. And then this one dude scoured mine and found like this demo, and these demos of like my music I was doing. This is in like 99. And then he was like, I want to sign you to our label. And this was the guy that put out the first Hot at Heat 7-inch,
Wow.
which
Oh, sick.
when we were just like a punk band, and I wasn't singing. I was like writing the songs like on this synth, and I was, very kind of heavily influencing the direction, but I didn't sing at all. But I was singing on these demos. And then so the guy that started this label was like, I want to put out the stuff where you're singing. And then so Paul, our drummer, was like, well, why don't you just sing on Hot at Heat? So that was kind of how it started. But anyway, this all happened because I wanted to make documentary films, and that's why I bought a computer. And anyway, full circle to now, I have this burning desire to shoot documentaries, and it's just ridiculous that I haven't done it yet. But it also makes sense because I love music, and there's just not a lot of time in life.
Yeah.
And film stuff takes up a lot of time too.
Two very time consuming projects. If you wanted to take on it, you have to do one or the other. It's hard to divide, evenly, and then have family life as well. Right?
It's an interesting time because I've kind of I've kept like a lot of my secret like hobbies and stuff like below the surface, just to kind of keep the focus on music, because it's kind of like if lightning strikes, you can't expect it to strike again in like a completely different field and blah blah blah. And so it's like I've had like a bit of a spotlight on me through music, but part of me is like, I don't know, you want to die happy and life's short, you know what I mean? So you just got to kind of try it all on the DL. But speaking of which, I am putting out, or I'm working on my own music right now, just like a Steve record. And I really have no faith in the process of promoting music anymore, because you really got to be focused and vigilant at marketing. And I do love creating, music videos and photography and album art and all that stuff. But as far as like being a consistent promoter of what you're selling, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm not very good at it. All right, I am good at it. I'm quite good at it, but I hate it.
But it's time consuming as well, right?
That's another whole other thing.
Yeah.
You want to spend your free time on the creating process, not the promoting process. If possible, you'd probably hand that to someone else, right?
Well, and I've tried that, but then the second, because I want it to be an authentic voice, when I do post something. Like I've had different labels and different managers and different PR companies and blah, blah, blah. And it's essentially, it always just trickles down to, okay, we need to post something today. What have you taken a photo of? What have you filmed? What have you recorded? And what do you want it to say? So it's like, oh, okay. So all you're really doing is just like slapping me on the face and reminding me to like create some content, but it's hard when I spend so much of my time trying to sort of distill like bulk content and make it one like beautiful like 3-minute masterpiece. And then to be an artist now, it's kind of like you need regular sort of bulk viewing of content. And so it just doesn't quite work for my kind of brain. But having said that, I love making music. So I'm going to put out this record, but I have, it's a weird thing because it's like, I want to put it out, but I just want there to be a disclaimer that it's like, I don't even think I want a manager or a label or anything. I just want it to like exist and sort of not be judged for the fact that it's like kind of unknown, because I don't want to promote it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you just want to be free to create it. And then if people enjoy it, great, just put it out there. You don't want to just have to spend every waking hour, putting out the marketing and then, making sure the label is happy. And then it's like, no, I'm just going to do my thing and like just put it
Exactly.
let
And
it float out there.
which is weird. It's weird when you have a kid because it's like, okay, so I'm choosing to not spend time with my child to work on music that will like most likely will not generate any money and may not even hardly be heard by anyone, but I just need to do it. It's like it really forces you to kind of confront like, you know, existential questions about what's the point of anything, you know. Well, I think, and the reason maybe why I do talk about like random stuff like I've been talking about is just because I feel like there is no such thing as just like being a creative person and having a focused career. Like you have to know about microphones and green screens and lighting and you know, yeah, like everyone is a creator now. Everyone's a content creator, and so it's like, oh, okay, so you are a keyboard player. Okay, that's not enough. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, 100%,
you also have
100%.
to, and then not, and you can't even just stick to your own genre. Like you have to, like even with podcasts and stuff. Like I've done way more. Like I've done very few music centric podcasts. It's usually like comedy or just like talk, you know, talk podcasts or whatever. Like you kind of just have to be all over the place, and figuring out how to sort of cut through the noise because there's so much noise out there.
Yeah, and podcasting, like,
And
it does a ton
good
of
quality noise too. Like when I like look at my lady's TikTok feed, I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother trying. Like, there's so much good stuff. Like,
oh yeah, and TikTok is like that changed the whole thing again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like Napster changed a lot of things, and even for film, like it changed things for everything because you could get anything on Napster, so it changed everything for everything. And then it was like that was the next step, and then streaming was the next step, right? Like, so you get all these little moments where everything kind of turns around. Now everything's kind of based on this under 30-second clip idea or whatever, right? Like, you know, the 2-minute song, the 30-second clip, it's all this stuff. If you can get to the point in 20 seconds, that's better. It's weird. Even though we do it, we participate, but it's weird.
I'm like, I've lately I've just gotten, I think, just burnt out a little bit on the phone format. But for years I was all about just kind of seeing where the future guided, you know, media and stuff. But since we moved to this place, long story short, the movers wrecked my TV, so I had to make a claim with home insurance, and I just took that as an excuse on Black Friday to get like a massive 85-inch TV that it is just like on a level that I would never normally kind of be able to justify. And then it goes over the fireplace, so we've got like a robot mount thing that like comes out and down, and then there's like this kind of like new IMAX enhanced sound, which basically it's like a sub and 4 speakers that are wireless that kind of somehow do some crazy magic to simulate like just like basically a dome of sound around you.
Yeah.
And it's really wild. And I felt like for work related reasons, it made sense that I would buy it because I really do want to get into mixing Atmos and like surround and stuff. That's what I told myself. Anyway, so I went from like just kind of like forgetting about films for a while to in like as of this past month, I'm really excited about just, you know, the really well curated format of Dolby Atmos, really well shot stuff. Like I've been really into cinematography and stuff for music videos, but more and more I'm kind of loving well shot films. And yeah, I don't know. I think I've been watching so much YouTube and just kind of, I really do love YouTube, and I love, you know, you have to have YouTube Premium. Like, you can't watch the ads. It's just insane. And I've just been really into just like current events. You know, like if it wasn't posted like the day I'm watching it, I'm kind of like, oh, whatever, you know. But now I'm finally in a spot where, for whatever reason, I'm able to sort of sit back and watch films from the past and actually really just press pause on the pace of modern life and just kind of escape again for a minute. Yeah. Anyway,
it's hard
blah, blah,
to
blah.
the phone's kind of messed up the movie watching experience at home. I feel like
I think so. Oh yeah,
like
I,
you have
I
to
love sitting to watch a film, and I do it, but I don't do it in the same way anymore.
But what would you watch?
Yeah, like you have to put your phone down if you're going to watch a film with somebody else there. Sorry, what were you going to say?
If you actually want to watch it, yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean. But like, what was your first thing you did kind of want to watch on the big 85-inch motherfucker?
Well, I mean, I can't handle like the whole Marvel universe, like the world that has the budget to do Dolby Atmos really well. Like, I just can't be bothered. But when a show comes out and it does, you know, say like it's mixed for Atmos and stuff, like it is kind of fun having rear speakers and stuff. A couple nights ago, we had a friend of mine, this fella Andy, who was in the band We Are the City, whose records I had worked on in the past. That they made so they're very involved in like the cinema world and stuff. So they made a movie called Violent that won a bunch of awards, and it led to them getting like a big budget for their next film. And anyway, so today I was watching Violent, and they scored the music for it as well, and it's on Amazon Prime. And it's really trippy, and it's got really cool sound, and it's just shot really well. Anyway, so Andy and his cinematographer were over at the house the other day because they were shooting a music video for this rapper who actually lives really close to here. So he's gone by the name Movi, but he just changed his name. I can't remember if I'm allowed to. He's like doing a rebrand, and it's sort of like they're like, "Don't post, don't say anything."
Okay.
So
This will come out a bit later, though. This will come out January 1st, maybe.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, first Wednesday of January, whatever that is.
Let me just check one thing.
You do a little pre.
Get a
I'm sure it's not the end of the world. I'm just checking one thing here. Where did I even? Sorry. Stay there. Craig. You know what? I just to be safe, I won't mention. Anyway, so we went by Moby. But so they were. So he's a really interesting dude, and he's from England, but he's living like 5 minutes from here now. It's awesome, and they were shooting a music video, and they're like, "Hey, can we shoot it at your studio?" I was like, "Okay, cool." They came and they had the crew and, you know, the full like red cam like the Komodo and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so we were just filming like a studio scene in here. And then my gal, she's a tattoo artist for a living. And so we have a tattoo studio upstairs. So he's like, I want to get a neck tat with my new artist name. And that's kind of how he's like launching that. He's got this new artist name, and he's putting out 52 songs next year.
Wow.
And so Andy and his cinematographer, Joe, who's like just brilliant dude. They've shot 13 music videos, and they were filming my wife, we're not actually married, but basically my wife Drew. So she was tattooing his name on his neck for like the final scene of the 13th video. yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that, but it was rad. It's just cool like that you can like move to like we're just surrounded by like trees and like parks and mountains and like we're just pretty removed, like an hour and a half outside of Vancouver, but somehow still like he they end up coming here and filming the studios thing and being like, we should shoot this tattoo shot. And then, and now like him and I are making plans to just like make a bunch of crazy. He calls it like, because he's from Ghana. And so he calls it like, he was referencing Afrobeat. Like, I don't want to say what the name is because it'll sound like super white if I do, because I can't even remember. But it's a lot of that, like, it's got like a flavor that like as a white guy, like I couldn't do it. But then if I'm with Moby, then it's like, okay, shit. Well, his real name is Ransford. And I just love like that I'm in the middle of nowhere in my basement. And then someone from like Ghana that's doing like Afrobeat. It's like, we're going to make a bunch of songs here. And then, Drew's like doing like a huge neck tat. And it's like, I just feel like creativity, it's like if you build it, they will come, to quote a Kevin Costner movie from the 90s. And it's like, you surround yourself by things that excite you, whether it's just like random friggin' Bluetooth adapters from Temu, or whatever. And then passionate people, when they see like that, like big kid wonder or little kid wonder, but in your eyes, like when your eyes light up, when you're excited about stuff, it's just so infectious. And it's like, it doesn't matter where you move or even what genre you're doing, or if it's like a podcast or like, metal or Afrobeat or documentary or, painting, like I think it's just a good time to be a creative person. And it's like, it's easy for me to talk shit on, the internet and YouTube and like self promo and social media and stuff, or you can just get really excited by it, like even, and my cousin, for example, she decided that she was going to start painting. And now she's selling like hundreds of paintings a year, and is like just slaying it. And she's flying all over the world, like doing all these art shows and stuff. And she's like a mom of three sons that are all like, she's like going to hockey practice and stuff with them, and then she comes home and does this crazy interpretive beautiful art that is just catching on. And then my sister, who has a couple kids and is living in Calgary, and like she's 41, and she just decided, you know what, I love that Erica's doing these crazy paintings. And it's like all of a sudden her life's just changed. So now my sister's doing that, so she started painting, and that's kind of taking off, which is nuts. And then that's led to her, as of today, she was telling me how she's doing meditation coaching, which is like somehow her paintings led to that. Anyway, I'm rambling a lot, but I guess like I can see how to go back to what we were talking about with me, like complaining about like, oh, marketing sucks and blah, blah, blah. If you focus more on like the things that you do love about, 2024 and about like social media and the internet and blah, 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 I feel like good shit ends up sort of just falling in your lap,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Focusing on the good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's like I don't know if you ever read The War of Art, like Stephen Prescott book or whatever. Like I think it's that. Like if you show up, right, you just show up. Like it might not happen tomorrow, or whatever, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like look at Prescott himself. Technically, like even his career is like a very good example of push ahead. It'll happen eventually, kind of thing or whatever. But yeah, I think good stuff comes to people who put the time in.
100%. Yeah, like and that's why it's kind of like when you wake up and you think this is what I should do. This is what I have to do, but I don't want to do. This is what I kind of want to do, and this is what I really want to do. This is what I'm obsessed about potentially doing. Just like I find if you like navigate the day and you just always steer it towards the things that for whatever reason you're excited to do. Like nobody's going to be excited to do their taxes, but there is, if you do give yourself sort of a 2-week window and you're like, okay, I got to do it in this window. There is going to be a day or a time where you're like, I feel like I could do my taxes right now. And it would actually be kind of sweet because I could have this, whatever, it's just, I find like if you sort of look at life as like kind of a sieve and you're just like, there's all these things that you have to do to be an adult and just kind of set up your worlds so that you can sort of fall into pockets of doing something and being excited about it, even though it's like, yeah. I just like the idea of people showing up and it's like, yeah, maybe we're going to try and do a single, or maybe we're doing a full album, or maybe we're shooting like a short film. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, I just want to have everything wired up and ready to go with hard drive space and just kind of
any idea that comes
see where it leads.
Like you don't want to have any limitations on any creative idea you might have, right? You might have a video idea. It's like, hey, we can film this real quick, and so it's cool to have it all in one space. It's ideally, the right setup to have. Yeah, it's a really cool setup there, actually.
And then I love that there's like, our daughter Maisie, she's on the top floor, so it's like 2 floors up, and this house is, so it's 4,100 square feet, and the basement is floor to ceiling concrete. And that was kind of like what sealed the deal, because it's just completely soundproof to the outside. Whereas my old place, I built a studio in the garage, and it took like 7 months and like 40 grand to soundproof just that little garage.
Wow.
So I was like, I really don't want to have downtime. Can't afford to spend another 40 grand soundproofing. So, and concrete is like a great start. So,
yeah, to have it all kind of built in is
100%. Yeah, we were looking at a house and same idea. Just that the house is actually physically splitting apart, but that was the premise behind it, is that it had one side was all an addition, but they had a 15-foot room kind of thing, but it was like floor to ceiling, no window. It was supposed to be a theater room, I think is the idea of it, or something, but it was like floor to it would have been like sick. Would have been like a wicked, because it was like, of course it had the old 70s, carpet up the wall, across the floor, up the wall and everything. It was crazy room, but it would have been a really sick like room to record in and stuff like that. But the house was actually physically falling apart.
Your like background is in audio engineering.
Yeah, that's what I went to. That's like one of the things I went to school for along the way or whatever. Yeah, so I did that for a while. I worked in a couple studios and did some work with that, and did my own thing for a little bit. And then when I moved to Alberta, kind of dissipated a little bit, but slowly, since we started the podcast back up and stuff like that, I started like doing some streaming and stuff over COVID, and kind of started buying some new gear, and how it goes, kind of thing. You just restack kind of thing or whatever. And then because I had a full studio at one point and I stole it and everything, and then I started reacquiring gear like just before COVID, and then it got worse over COVID because there wasn't a whole lot to do. It was really easy to sit in the basement and frig around or whatever.
Well, I feel like COVID really was the catalyst to a lot of people asking themselves, like, what are my curiosities that I kind of want to explore? And a lot of that is like kind of changed. Like, it's so normal now for people to consider, wanting to communicate online and create and express themselves online and work from home. And it's like, it's such a different world now, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. COVID just changed everything. And it made it, because I think a lot of people, especially in more corporate world or whatever, where kind of everybody's convinced you had to be there at all. You know what I mean? You have to be here for 40 hours. You have to do whatever the thing is. But the real reality is not like that anymore. Like, you can do you can do, an 8-hour day in 3 hours if you're productive a lot of times at your job because of the technology and all the things you have available to you. So like, it's just a weird system to me. So like, I'm trying to escape it right now. And so I'm trying to kind of go back to like the, back into the arts world again. So that's kind of the next step in this process.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
get rid of my day job.
Yeah. I feel like, like assuming that you're going to be productive from punch in to punch out time. I guess it makes sense because you kind of have to police people, but if you hire people that you trust and you don't feel the need to sort of police them, then I like jobs where, I think that's why I like, being a producer and mixer and director and stuff, is because I'll kind of say, okay, when is like the ballpark time you want to have the video done or the song done or whatever. And then I can just navigate life to when I'm the most inspired. And so I've been working with this band called Dead Churches, and I was just kind of waiting till I got a bit more impact, but also just inspired to work on this song, which is a really kind of sad, it's a super sad song, but it's a beautiful song. And then it's like, boom, I just got struck with the inspiration after saying like for weeks, like, I'll get to it. And then I just spent like the last 3 days up until about 4 a.m. last night, or 5 or 6. I can't remember. It's been like days of not sleeping, but 3 days in a row. And it's like maybe the best sounding production I've ever done on a song. And, and was adding like cellos and French horn and all this crazy stuff that they didn't ask for. But it's, if you have the luxury of waiting to sort of work on something when you feel like your inspiration is the most sincere and kind of true to who you are, then it's like, that's how you can kind of, I feel like, get to that crazy level. And it's a luxury. You don't always get it, but
right. Do you feel like working with new and different artists kind of keep your passion invigorated and spark new kind of interests and ideas in, like to go in a different direction musically? Like, does it, working with creatives, does it kind of boost your own creative process?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think also because I respect other people's time and money more than my own. So if I am hired for something, like I want to sort of get into it and learn their world and like figure out who they are as people and like, I really get emotionally invested into everyone that I work with. And I usually end up like getting to the point where it's either kind of like, okay, the song is done, goodbye, or it's like, okay, we're basically family now and you're in my life forever, and so I feel like I've gotten to the point where most of the people that I work with they're either like really good friends or they're almost family at this point. And I think I prefer that, because if I'm just working for the paycheck, I don't respect my own need for money enough to do a good job just for that, although I do need money with my team who have it. It's like starting to get dark, but
you need a sponsorship from Timu. That's who you should be hitting up.
Yeah. This record is brought to you by Timu.
Bluetooth adapters, get them here.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, I don't respect Timu's business model, and I'm sure I know there's a dark underbelly.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there has to be.
I'm not on board with that. I'm already trying to taper off. But one area that I will say, if you do have a severe addiction to buying gear and gadgets, Amazon has like a some products have a used version, and it's kind of like the price is lower and it's just down below. And so if there's something I'm curious about acquiring, I'll just like keep searching for it and then look. So like this crazy IMAX stereo thing, it it was like you can find things that are technically used on Amazon sometimes that are just a fraction of the price. And they're basically brand new. It's a weird world though, but you can't search for it.
Right.
It's just by chance. And like normally you kind of gloss over it. So that's my pro tip to anyone that suffers from gas, which is
Bit of gas.
gear acquisition syndrome.
Yes, I suffer from such things.
I also have a little bit of gas, Steve.
Yeah. Fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yes, I do. Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, do you know a doctor? Yeah, no, I'm out like gadgets, man. It's about gadgets. Like I'm horrible for that stuff. Like the little thing, like what you're showing in the little box kind of thing. Like those little things, like that help do something else. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I'm a sucker, man.
Yeah.
Patches.
Oh yeah, patch cable type shit or whatever, sex changer type stuff.
USB-C to USB regular thing we have for this
Extension
camera.
cable
Oh,
thing.
man.
Oh my god!
my
like-
Well, if the signal didn't cut out, I would show you. I also have a passion for storage, well organized storage.
Oh snap!
And label makers. So I've got like every sort of, because if you like today, for example, my family's visiting tomorrow morning, and so I went to go put up a lamp, and like the cable was broken. I was like okay, I can fix it. Like I have a little kit to fix stuff like that. But then I was like, okay, what I could do though is take the top of this light fixture and the bottom and then put something sort of atypical in between, like something kooky, like a wood sculpture or something like that. And then my brain just starts thinking like, okay. And then that's where all of a sudden, if you know where all your adapters are or like the drill bit, that, like the more you're able to at a moment's notice, grab something really kind of esoteric that you might need to create a bizarre fix, or it doesn't just have to be art. It could be a light fixture, or it can just be a creative way of getting from A to B at a right angle, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
anyway,
I know what you mean. And now you got this fancy light.
So there is an art form to the storage solutions that does benefit your art form in the end.
Yeah, you don't want to have a roadblock because you can't find such and such a thing, right? You kind of want to storage is important. I'm sure you have like hundreds of thousands of kilometers of cables in your house. You want to, maybe not that much, but a lot of stuff that you need storage, right? So
a snake pit.
It's insane. I'd really love, and my hobby for years was I would just go to like film set, like places where they like film sets would just buy stuff or sell stuff when they were done. So and so I would just collect esoteric things just on the weird chance that I might need it one day. But if you don't know where it is, it may as well be in the garbage. Like, if you need to know where each one of these obscure things are. So it after going antiquing and thrifting and, these weird film sets and stuff, like it got to a point where it's like, okay, I need to declutter my mind by getting super organized. And then also like cleaning things. Like you don't think about all these things. Like you don't want to walk into your beautiful, fresh studio and just smell old. And so I've been doing things like I've been putting old cables and stuff into the shower and just like literally like washing old cables and stuff. And Drew's like, aren't you going to wreck it? It's like, no, like it's just water. It'll dry, you just can't plug it in right away. But so cleaning and organizing obscure cables so that like want to show you so bad. So there's a utility closet right here. I call it like my Casey Neistat room. Did you ever watch
Yeah.
Casey Neistat stuff?
Yeah, of
like
course. Yeah.
his warehouse in New York. So I have like a mini version of that. And it is just shelves and brackets and cables and labels and stands and lights. And it's my little workshop. And it's super fun. And like I said, I don't know where any of this is going for sure, but I feel like something good is going to come of it, whether that benefits a band I'm working with or a friggin' rapper or folk singer or my own music. Doesn't matter.
It'll come up eventually. It all gets used eventually. I find myself digging around for obscure stuff all the time. It just something will cross your mind one day randomly, pick it out of the bin or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, I finally used this whatever thing, and it's like feels very rewarding.
Speaking of which, how do you decide what goes on in your backdrop here? I notice Big Shiny Tunes too. Classic poster.
Classic. It's the vinyl, actually.
That's Ninja Turtles.
little vinyl action. Yeah. So this is well, you put it up. I mean, this is his head.
Yeah.
So
it's just kind of just stuff that we just had around. I had around. So movie posters, concerts that I've been to. Yeah, some action figures.
Yeah.
Some
it's funny.
random bullshit. Random bullshit.
It's funny. We were just talking about it. We were like, well, maybe in the new year we'll do a little refresh. We'll take a few things off, add some stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Do a little modification. But it's no necessarily. It's just stuff we like. I guess it's your house,
Yes.
but everything in here is kind of stuff we like. Like we got skate videos, and because we had Patrick on, so we got his book the other day. Got that in the window there now, so that's cool. Remember Winamp used to have radio stations? I don't know if we're onto that at one point. But Winamp, you used to be able to do radio stations, so that was your pre-podcast podcasting
so. I
career.
guess kind of I guess the kind of pre-podcasting era. Winamp, MySpace days, those fucking shit. So
yeah, like the Winamp skins, like that will convert a guy to go to PC. Like
you can still get that, man. Winamp still exists. You can still use it. Whips the llama's ass still.
I don't know. I've been a Mac guy since the 90s, but when I was a PC guy, it Winamp skins.
You can get it for your Mac now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's for like the new stuff, like the Mac, like the M1s and stuff, but I know for the Intel based stuff.
What do you play? Like, is it for music? Like, what? I can't even.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I don't know. I'm a hoarder, so like I have all my may or may not be from Napster collection kind of stuff or whatever. Like I've ripped almost my entire CD collection and stuff. So like I did use it for a bit just for the nostalgia factor, but like it's not convenient by any other than it's on your computer and you can listen to it kind of thing. But
yeah,
it's not as convenient. As much as I hate to say I like streaming, it's
much more
convenience
practical
factor is
to bring up Spotify and
100%.
Like normal, but
yeah,
it's fun. It's a nostalgic
weird.
factor.
Spotify, like I don't get excited about listening to music on Spotify, but I've tried. I got a record player. I tried the vinyl thing. I'm not a vinyl guy either. Although I'm still dabbling with getting back into it. Like I go through phases where I'll sell all my physical media and then I go digital and then back and forth. But I'm not an iTunes guy. I'm not a big fan of Spotify, although I do it. I don't know. Like there is like a world where there is a physical device that's still digital, that's more exciting. It's like if somebody had like a jukebox and it was just easier to navigate and maybe like you could swipe through it or something. I don't know. Something about the user interface of Spotify has always pissed me off. Same with all the others. So I don't know. I would love like a physical device that's just for music where it's tactile at some point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the album art was big. It's like almost like a oversized iPad that was just music, but connected online somehow. But
that would be cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like super hoarder. Like I collect a lot of physical media, but like it's not, stuff I try to get stuff because you can't get stuff. There's stuff that's going missing because you can't stream it. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have the physical copies, you just can't get it. Like movies. Like I'm a horrible movie like VHS collector because like there's certain just stuff you can't get. I don't.
Nice.
You just can't get it. Like it just doesn't exist on streaming. So the only way to watch it is like a DVD or a VHS. So I choose a VHS. I like that. I like the click click when I put it in and it makes a funny noise and it speeds up, and I like that part. Right.
Heck yeah.
Same as records. I'm like
Yeah,
records and stuff.
there is something really beautiful about VHS. I know Kyle Mooney, who I was talking about earlier, is like obsessed with his VHS collection. My buddy Paul Anthony, who does this Talent Time show that I was telling you about. Actually, you should look into him and get him on the show because he's got a lot to say. He's a huge collector of VHS.
Yeah, we love that. We love it because we go to Valley Village and pick up we'll go to Valley Village and go see what VHS they have there, and it's like, you know, any classics that we had, you know, that we rented as we child.
Oh yeah,
like
especially like
I love it, and I'll
movies.
buy those. Like I have VHS all over the fucking place here.
Yeah,
And I have a CD.
Wicked.
I have CDs. I have a CD player in my truck still, so I still have a CD book, and I still bring CDs. I'll go grab one out of my CD rack and bring it out, and that's what I'm going to be listening to for the week, right? Like I can skip forward and back, but that's the only album I'm listening to for the whole week, and I still love that shit. Right?
I do. There is something nice about when you're in your car, you've got a CD in there. You're gonna listen to it way more. You know, like if a close friend gives you their CD, you're gonna listen to it a bunch. If they send you a link to their new record that they spent, you know, 2 years or 3 years on, like you may forget about it. Like it's a link that's somewhere. And I think like there's something, maybe because like I'm also like working on my own record and I'm kind of like, I know there's people that would be stoked to hear it and I do want to put it out, but I'm just not inspired, you know, like it was so exciting. Even with like music videos, like I'm still making them. Like I said, I did like 30 last year, but when Much Music existed, it was just so nice that there was like this, like you could put a bow on it. It's like, that's the goal. Like if we get on Much Music or if we get on MTV, so yeah, I think as a creator, like I'm still just as obsessed with the creation and trying to make it as exciting and passionate as possible. But as far as like the final result, it's just, if I'm like, oh, here's a link, you know, it doesn't inspire me.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
no, man, I agree with that.
You can get a text for a link, and it's like you just throw your phone back down and go on about what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
If someone handed you a CD and say this,
Yeah.
this, they're like, oh, and you can look at the album art, you can flip through it, you can take it out, look at the CD. Oh wow, put it in. You know, you're going to be listening to that for a while.
If you give someone a physical copy of your album, it's like a genuine gift. You know?
Mm-hmm. That was my favorite thing. Like, you know, when you're in bands and you get your buddies, you know, demo or whatever the thing was they're kind of passing around or whatever, and you get, you know, like the burnt copy with the white, you know, Memorex or whatever bullshit, and you just get that. That was like my favorite thing, man. Like, I love that. I still got a bunch of these like demo things and stuff that we did in school, and like other people that, you know, were in my circle or whatever kind of did in school and stuff like that, and in studios and like test things, and because it's cool. Like I don't know, it's cool to get that. I don't know. Like I'm a physical media person. Like I'm not a stream, like as much as I do it because you have to, but
dude,
I just don't like it.
Check this out. I got it right here. Because more than Temu or Amazon, Facebook Marketplace is the shit.
Oh my god, man! I had that exact
20
one.
bucks.
What? I had the 8-track like it too.
Just and you know, you got your line in and line out and whatnot. It's just standard cassette, but it's got a built-in limiter. So you put your mic, you can plug in your mics with TRS right here. Turn on the limiter, and I just got it off of Marketplace for $20, and it's sexy. It's got the wood grain,
Love
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, man. I had that one and the 8-track.
The Rasta colors, like red, yellow.
What brand is that one?
Sony. That's Sony.
Nice. I had a realistic version, same idea, but I had the matching 8-track and cassette for my giant glowing green tube preamp thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I don't have that thing anymore. I wish I did. It was amazing, but it was a clunker that I took around with me for ages and replaced tubes and full. Like I took that thing apart so many times, but I loved it. But it became too much of a headache eventually. But there's nothing quite like that.
There was a phase I go in and out of being excited about like the old school stereos, like what you're saying about the green light. I love that.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
That's probably
like
good
when
about
we did. What's that?
About being like in a remote area that you're at now. Like you probably have, some people, some old folks maybe who are holding on to some things that are probably still in pretty good condition that you can find on Facebook Marketplace.
There's less, like in Vancouver. There's people that are just ready to pounce on like estate sales and stuff. Like there's like a whole network and system. So you're never gonna get first dibs. Whereas when you're in a small town, there's a lot of things that will be on Marketplace. It's like, oh, somebody's getting rid of this and it's been up for like 8 weeks. And then you reach out and it's still for sale. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did this small town. You remember that show? What was it called? Like Pickers or something, like
Canadian Pickers?
It was like about
American Pickers?
Yeah, maybe it was American Pickers. Do you take away the American, just Pickers? It's really, really gross.
Garbage pickers.
But yeah, like those shows like that. I mean, that was my idea of a good day off, was just like hunting for weird shit. And like, Value Village still will have some scores, but they're usually overpriced. But you never know. Like the people that price these things, like they're just a random employee that's like, oh, I don't know. There's no database that they're looking things up on. So you might see like there's a rug down here that's a beautiful long like 12-foot runner that was $75 at this film set place, and then I was there a week later and there was another one probably from the same film set, but it was $500. I was just like, oh, okay. So like one employee was like, oh, 75. One was like 500. So, so you don't buy the second one, but I love the randomness. Like there's like a caveman in me that wants to hunt but I'm not violent.
If they're looking
but unless
trinkets,
someone else
trinkets and music goodies,
unless someone else steals your good find, then maybe.
I do the same thing though. I love those sales and go and find something goodies or whatever. And like I don't know, I don't know what it is. I always find like weird guitar pedals for some reason. That's kind of like whatever, like everybody has a thing to kind of run into a lot or whatever. But I seem to run into a lot of funky guitar pedals, like especially like 90s weird digitally shit, like. All the Digitech weird stuff.
DOD.
Yeah, all these weird
Digitech,
like, grungy, grunge pedal 1 or whatever bullshit kind of stuff. But I love those things because the shittier the better.
Dude,
that's my favorite thing.
There's a DOD pedal that is called the grunge one that my buddy had, and we just like we thought it was so whack. Like at first we thought it was wicked, and then later we were like, oh, it's so whack. But I would kill for that pedal now. And then he got the grunge one, and I got the matching one called, it was Super American Metal.
Oh yeah.
And it's like I got the Super American Metal pedal. And it's like it's so weird because I have it. Like I found it at my parents recently, and I was like, I need this back. And it's like you turn on a pedal and it just transforms your tone into like the worst PV amp tone ever, But then having said that, there is one PV amp that is awesome, and I have it, and it's Josh Ohm from Queens of Stone Age.
Is it a Renegade? Is it a Renegade or whatever version it is?
What is it?
Because like I'm a huge I'm like Josh Homme fucking fanboy.
Oh, okay. Well, it's right here. Let me grab it. I'll just show it to you.
Guarantee it's a Renegade. because they made a pedal out of this thing now. You can buy a pedal. It's like a preamp or whatever. It's
Oh.
like the amp section of this thing. If it's the same one I'm thinking of. I think it's a Renegade.
And it's a Josh Homme signature? Or
No, it's like an old like practice PV amp.
Oh.
Like it's 10 watt or something. 15
Oh,
watt or
geez,
whatever.
okay.
You know, like a baby. Like a little. If it's the same one I'm thinking, there was big
Man, I
version.
remember having a
Or Bandit maybe.
PV Bandit 112 when I was a
Oh,
kid. Yeah.
my God,
It's
that's it.
this bad boy, the Decade.
Oh snap! That's the one. Yeah, and this one they made the pedal out of. You can buy a pedal of that thing.
What?
Oh, yeah.
What's the pedal? Because apparently what he does is because there's like you can go out of it, so you can
Yeah.
just use just the preamp, and then go into like a decent cabinet or whatever.
Yeah, to like a
So
big
apparently
boy.
that's what he does. But if I could just have the pedal, I'd prefer that.
Yeah, it's because I'm pretty sure it's not made by PV. Like it's not made by PV, but it's not called because there's a Josh Homme pedal as well. It's like the Queen's pedal or whatever. It's like a red with the like the newer artwork that they use, like that drawing stuff or whatever. Like they've kind of been doing the same stuff for a while now. That's got the same artwork on the pedal, but I don't know if that's official. I think it's kind of like somebody built it, kind of like here you want to sound like Josh or whatever kind of thing. But there is a real pedal that
Interesting.
I can't remember who built it, but it's the preamp, like the amp section from that amp, basically, in the preamp section and stuff, and a little pedal. And of course, you can use it as it's basically a preamp, essentially. So you can kind of get the Josh Homme, or you can, you can get a little more crazy or whatever. Because Josh's stuff, it sounds really distorted, but it's not really. It's just overdriven and bassy and stuff. But, well, the new stuff is different, but the old stuff
distortion
is
it's like there's a billion different kinds of distortion. Like just the word when you're like coming up in music and learning about stuff, it's like oh well, there's saturation and then there's overdrive and then there's fuzz or whatever. It's like there's so many adjectives that have not been written yet to describe all the different kinds of fuzz and stuff. And then there's like a thing that I love about his tone is it's never like super direct. Like it's always like there's a mic, it's always off axis or in like a bathroom or something like that. And he always finds a unique take on a distorted guitar tone, which we've heard like a billion times,
Yeah. New stuff is really cool. Like, I don't know how much you've got into the last, like, say, 2 albums, but like, holy schmoly, like the newest album with like Paper Machete and all that, like that, those singles on it, like the tones, like totally switched from the old stuff. Like it kind of like, it used to be really kind of bass heavy, kind of like no top end or very little top end, the kind of thing. Like the bass had more top end than the guitars most of the time and stuff like that kind of vibe. But now it's like, I don't know what happened, but they decided like, well, frig that, let's go the other direction. And now it's all like super chunky, trebly kind of stuff or whatever. Like the new tone is wicked. I love it. I'm really, really down with this on that.
Yeah, I will follow him whatever direction he goes. Like a friend of mine is who used to be like the head of product design at Radial until they got bought up by random investors and fired him stupidly. But anyway, so we called this like the Radial beta testing lab, and so there's like a lot of things that we would just like on Too Many Wines we would just be listening to Queens of the Stone Age often, because that's like one of our agreed upon like rock bands that we will test, different speakers and different acoustic panels and stuff. Like that's our testing album of choice. Anyway, where was I going with this? He's kind of like the gold standard for just growing old gracefully, but still being stoked on rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he seems like one of the last old souls of rock and roll.
Oh, he's a real rock and roll, rock and roller kind of thing, like traditional in a way or whatever. He's a little more cleaned up now. He had a couple of weird scares with health and stuff or whatever. He's cleaned his shit up a little bit. But like up until 6 years ago, like he's still giving her pretty hard.
Oh man, he played with Queen so many times. Like we toured with him in like Australia, and like I've had many late nights, like just I can't even remember with him. Like, and
wow.
He's one of those guys. Like I don't really ever text like old celebrity connections unless it's like critical. But when I do, like he'll always respond, and like he'll put my pal on the guest list or whatever. And anytime they come through town, and he's like one celebrity crush that I still sort of keep in touch with, just because I feel like I can relate to him. Like he like has a background of sort of excess, but he's always kept it pro and in check. And then he can be a bit of an asshole, but not it's not based in bad intent. I feel like whereas, you know, like a lot of like rockers are either super PC or you find out they're like actually like total scum. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
don't meet your heroes.
Kind of a good middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind the asshole part of him. Like, I don't know. Like to me, it comes with to be in a band or whatever your thing is. You're willing to put your shit in public. There's a certain degree of narcissism involved, whether you like it or not. And I think he plays it well. Like, I mean, I've never had a private conversation with, you know, in that kind of way, but like, I get why in certain interviews he's like, forgot, you know what I mean? I get it. Like, I get it because you've asked.
Yeah,
he's heard the same question 30 times already.
He's real, and he doesn't give a crap about what, you know. He's not pandering, but he's also imperfect and that's just because you're in a popular band doesn't necessarily mean you have like a string of flawless decisions. Like,
100%. Oh, 100%.
I think it being a little bit of that asshole, for lack of a better word, is a little bit of that cool factor. There's a coolness factor as well. Like, it's like, oh man, like almost like that. He's got that James Dean kind of effect, that aura kind of around him.
Ginger Elvis.
Well, I do think he is genuinely a cool dude, and yeah, he's just I dig like his taste decisions, and yeah, I feel like there's certain artists that, you know, they're just secret audio nerds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's a tone nerd, you know, and I love that. Whereas like there's been a lot of musicians that were kind of famous that I met over the years, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like you're in a world I will never relate to, you know what I mean? Like even with like Beck, like he had like I dug his music and like his approach is like subversive approach to switching it up all the time, but we shared a tour manager, sound guy, and it's just like, whoa, it's like Beck lives a completely different way than I will ever live. Like such as he would have a what do you call it? Like a personal chef, and he would always need 2 flights booked because he's probably going to miss one of them. You know, and like he always needed to be like this crazy. Many doors from the elevator in his hotel room, and always had to be white walls, and like you hear about stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't understand how fame would sort of unlock
that type of
eccentricity. Like I like what I think happens often is like as you become more successful, you start finding ways to sort of perfect your craft and like deliver a better show. And, you know, like it's like the hardest thing in the world to captivate an audience of like thousands night after night after night. So it makes sense that you would have specific requirements for like, you know, food and sleep, I guess. But at the same time, like there's certain like rock stars that I've met over the years that are like, they're not divas and they still slay. You know what I mean?
There we go.
Fun fact, as I've gotten older, it was brought to my attention that I definitely do have adult ADHD. And I feel like once I accepted that, the symptoms just were allowed to get worse and worse and worse, and it's just it's quite severe at this point.
I'm reminded of such a thing with from my fiance daily. So
yes,
yeah.
Oh, I have the horrible ADHD, like horrible. I'm actually in the process right now of like getting like properly clinically diagnosed and all of these things because I actually have to do something about it. I have to do something about it.
It's good. Like, They say I've heard like between 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 people have it. So it's like it's very common. It's easily treatable. Um, but yeah, like I found like there were so many aspects of my life that suffered before I knew that it was a thing. Um, and then so it's like by knowing that I'm like a hardcore ADHD dude, like it's made my life a lot better in that I can like navigate around it and sort of use it to my advantage, and then sort of try and chip away at kind of um, coping with like the downsides of it. But you still will always need to have a life partner that is patient, I think. Yeah.
I find
Yes.
like for me, I like to write things down and make lists. If I don't write a list of things to do that I need to do or whatever, I think I get a little lost, and I can just find myself doing something that I never even had on any intention of doing that day or such a thing. So I
Or
find that
absolutely
lists-
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Not accomplishing anything.
The paralyzing is what
Yeah.
gets me the most. Like if I don't do it, I don't do it. Like there's very little in between kind of thing.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, it is a really it's a really debilitating thing. Yeah, and the like you said, like lists are great if you remember to check them. You know, it's like
Or
you
write
have
them.
to
Or write them. Yeah.
write them. Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. I like one of the main sort of specialists in ADHD who does all these lectures and stuff. He said it really should be called time blindness. And like I've since learned that there's definitely different shades of ADHD, but the time blindness one for me it's massive. Like I have a thing on my computer that announces the time every 15 minutes. And I'm just always shocked. Like whenever it reads the time, I'm not like, yeah, sounds about right. It makes sense that it would be 15 minutes past 3 right now. I'm always like, oh, okay, we're in the threes. Okay, you know what I mean? Or like, like I have no idea how long we've been talking. Like it could be 8 hours. It could be 3 hours. I don't know.
That's why we
And
keep
so
the timer
the
going.
time blindness thing sucks.
Yeah, I'm horrible for that. I'm horrible on time blindness. Like we have a counter that goes with this or whatever, but like in general, like I'm late or right on the time. Like I'm coming through the doors to turn the lights on kind of thing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that stuff I'm horrible for. And like I get caught up in my own shit real easy. And then it's freaking 10 hours later. And I'm like, oh, that was 20 minutes. And you look and you're like, I haven't eaten all day and I haven't looked up.
Yeah.
or whatever, right? That's my time blindness.
Dude.
I'm horrible.
Yeah, it's like what you just described is 100%. But because so many people have it's kind of hard. Sorry, I was just interrupted with it's 9:15. And of course I've changed the accent of the voice like a million times. But yeah, like it's such a common thing that you can't really like use it as an excuse. It's not like, sorry, I'm late because of this. It's just that maybe works once or twice, but eventually it's just kind of like you just have to acknowledge it. It's a disability that you just have to stay on top of. Like it sucks to have it. Yeah. But the nice thing is the hyper focus, because you know, like I was saying with this song I did for this band, I'm like, I think this is the best sounding production I've ever done. But that's because, you know, for me, like 36 hours is just like nothing, you know?
Oh yeah. Sleep. I'm a horrible sleeper. Same thing, right? Like I don't want to stop. Like it's like I don't want to give up the day. Like I could find something else to do. It's like, well, it's 20 more minutes. I'll just 20 more minutes. I say that to myself till 2:00 in the morning, whatever hour it is, all the time. Like I'm horrible.
Oh man, yeah. Going to bed it's really tough. Like for me, the hack has been I always have to have headphones on. Like I need to fall asleep stimulated to calm down. And so yeah, if I just go to bed in silence, I'm just like I'm just yeah, going nuts. Like I cannot sleep. So for basically like I first discovered that like just being on the road. When was this? Like anyway, at least like 10 or 15 years ago. And then I've just kind of always had to have headphones on to sleep. And it's kind of, it's like a little bit embarrassing, but it is what it is. Yeah.
What do you listen to normally?
Usually something that's not too entertaining. It changes all the time. So something that's kind of stimulating, but not overly stimulating. Nothing where I'm gonna wake up and go, oh, I have to like rewind and find that. But so usually conversational stuff. For a long time, it was like American politics randomly, like for years, like anything with politics. I was just like stimulated enough, but not. It's okay. Like you don't need to. It's fine to pass out. And then before that, it was just sort of like like for years, like old sitcoms or comedy, or for years it was comedy. And then lately it's like I fall asleep to like law and crime stuff a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
do you have to have it completely dark in the room while listening, or are you a fan of watching TV while trying to sleep?
Doesn't make a big difference. Usually I'll have my phone on and I'll just like fall asleep, like, and then like I can like feel myself like, oh, my eyes are closing. Okay, that's a sign something's going on here. You know, there's just all these little steps. But yeah, like to just go into a room and be like, okay, I'm going to bed because this is the logical time to go to bed. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Doesn't work like
No,
that.
I don't. No. I do the same thing. I do the same thing. I've been lately. I usually listen to podcasts, like somebody just talking podcasts, like no, music or whatever, entertainment value type of thing or whatever. But recently, I got really hard into listening to. It's called The Ancients. So it's like, I don't know, it's 45 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes or something like that. But it's like all these. It picks a subject and then like extrapolates on it with a professor of whatever that topic is or whatever. And it goes from like biblical things to Roman stuff to like native people in Canada to like, it's not just like one topic, it's ancients, everything kind of thing. And it's super informative, like same documentary information but it's low key. It's easy to fall asleep to. You don't, you know what I mean? You don't feel bad because you missed a piece or whatever. Or you kind of know a little bit about all the topics to a certain degree, or it's all familiar territory or whatever. So it's like easy listening, but super informative. The Ancients, yeah, super good podcast.
I will say that is a format that I do love to fall asleep to, which is I just call it like video essays.
Yeah.
So when people do an essay on, it could be any topic, like why the Sega Genesis, or why TurboGrafx was ahead of its time, but like criminally blah blah blah, or like why neon tube lights will always have a presence despite cheaper LED neon tubes or something. Like it could be anything, and I love when someone's like, okay, I live with my parents. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm going to study this weird subject and hopefully get a ton of views on YouTube, and hopefully that will pay the bills.
Just deep dive into,
and then they just go all in.
Yeah. Deep dive.
I love YouTube deep dives.
Yeah, I can't get enough information. I don't know what the deal is with that, but and it's a problem because you can get it anywhere. At all times.
Yeah, sometimes it could be crappy information.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes I'm like, I don't know where I'm putting any of this anymore, but I can't stop.
I think it's we are going through something that like we're going through the information revolution, right? Like, so you got to have grace for yourself. Like no other generation has had this much information thrown at them against their will and had access to this much information. And it's all around. So like we are like test subjects. And it's like, you just have to have grace for yourself. Like it makes sense. Like we have all this information. Why wouldn't you sort of not want to go to sleep and just learn, 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 learn? Also, the future is unknown. There's no, um, it used to be is like, oh, go to university and get a job and, work 40 hours a week and you can support like a wife and 3 kids. And, there's no certainty anymore. There's no clear path to success or certainty. And so I feel like there's part of me is sort of, especially since having, and I feel like I don't know how to do that, and so I'm just like absorbing information constantly on the like off chance that it'll somehow provide for my child. I think that's like the subconscious logic behind it.
Yeah, it's something, man. I don't know, but I can't stop watching documentaries. I can't stop reading articles. I'm just like, man, this is crazy. But I do find since we've started this too, it's making it worse.
It's a survival thing, I swear.
It must be. Like I think, like especially doing the podcast too. Like you kind of always in research mode, which is like, and there's like there's of course dopamine involved in all this research, right? So you find out something you didn't know. Now it's ding. You can go, a little bit just to get to the next, right? Gives you a little bit to get to the next thing or whatever, right? So like I know that about myself, but and I just can't stop myself because like my wife thinks I'm foolish, right? Like I'm always watching a documentary or I'm listening to a podcast, which is technically a documentary. I'm reading a magazine or I'm reading an article.
Yeah,
it's like I just can't get enough. It's very
yeah. Well, I know. Like what? Yeah, like the science of happiness, like, is so fascinating. Like, are we motivated by like a dopamine hit from new information, or, or is it? I'm always thinking about like serotonin versus oxytocin versus endorphins, versus dopamine versus. But then if you think about it too much, it's frustrating because it's like, I don't want to think about the science of love. I want to just believe in the magic,
Yeah, the chemical process is not as interesting as the potential emotional or spiritual version of that, or whatever it is, kind of thing, right? But although the chemical part's pretty interesting too, I guess. That's what I mean, right? There's a part where that's like, well, I could go down that road, like no problem, like that wouldn't bug me. I could know about that too. Like I don't know, like I say, I just find everything is interesting. I don't know it. It's interesting.
Dude, I would high five you right now if I was there in person.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. Like we're experimenting with this. We're experimenting with video stuff. We're trying crap all the time. Like I think it's all part of the creative process. Like you feel the information will come up again somewhere, or you'll be able to use it in a different way, or I don't know, whatever. Spin it into a lyric or whatever the thing is, right?
I'm seeing the yin and the yang of you two guys. Like it, like you guys, I feel like are a good team for a podcast. Like if you have two me's or two you's, like it's just the podcast would just crumble. It would just be too infuriating. You gotta have the chill, like guy that's like, he's just, you can rely on him and he's not too neurotic. And then you gotta have someone that's like just like absorbing it all. And what about this? What about this? What about this? And then it gets like the chill, like supportive pal to like actually be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do it. But if you're too, that's why like the weird thing about even putting out my own music, I'm like, I might be a bit too crazy to actually do this one man thing. Like there is a nice thing about being in a band where different personality types kind of drag you in and drag you out of your shell,
When you're working on solo stuff too, like how do you really know like when it's finished? Like how do you, like you could potentially just keep on working on it forever, couldn't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know they say like art is never finished, it's only abandoned, but I usually know like when something is done, like it will keep me up and I'll just be miserable if I know something could be better. But then when I'm ready, when it gets to a certain point, it's always, everything I do is always abandoned at the stage where everyone's rolling their eyes at me, but I'm like, no, trust me, I can make it better. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And even no matter who I'm working with, doesn't matter how much they're like, we trust the process, Steve. Don't worry. Like, we trust it. Everyone's fed up by the time I'm like, okay, it's done. But
yeah,
it's like, yeah,
you have to cross that threshold.
You only have your own brain. You got to just trust your own brain. You know, like you can't. Anytime I try and change my behavior to simulate what I perceive like another person's brain would think is like a good way to go about something, it doesn't work out. It's like a lose-lose. You know what I mean? At least if I see it through to the end and I'm like, okay, I'm finally happy, then they may see it as a lose, but at least one of us is like, it's a win, you know. But hopefully it's a win-win. Yeah.
That's the goal. I think we're a good team.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
information technical junkie, can't stop myself, and you keep my shit in check.
Yeah. Trying to do what I can here, even if it's only 10% effort here. I'm gonna put all I can in towards.
That is 100% put into that 10%.
Yeah. 10% of the final product. I'm putting 100% effort into that 10% of the final product.
Oh man.
That's awesome.
No, it's good. You need different energies for a team to work.
Yeah. You know
what I mean? Like
every
which is probably why you opted for Microsoft Teams over Zoom.
Zoom cuts you off after an hour and you have to think about it. And that's another thing you have to remember along with all the clicky button things.
Yeah.
We went down that road once and it was fine. I mean, you can edit things together and stuff, but it's just like super interrupted the conversation.
Abruptly stopped.
Everything was like done.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, didn't have a clue.
So Teams kind of lets us go.
Yeah. I just can't believe how much Skype spit the bed with.
Oh.
The whole COVID thing. Like they were.
How did they fumble that?
How
did they fumble that?
Well, and also, like, how did FaceTime not sort of come like, guys, like, we're right here. Like, why? I feel like FaceTime is actually the best quality.
Oh, 100%.
If you're going Apple to Apple. But for some reason, they've never really crossed over into like the professional realm. It's always sort of just like, oh, my dad's FaceTiming me. Okay. Sorry. He only does video. Hey, Dad. You know what I mean? Like it's never, let me set up like a professional meeting on FaceTime.
That's true. That is a huge mismark. I've said that a couple times too. Like, especially, with, Logic, Final Cut, like, everything they do is almost geared towards creatives in a way. So that, you know what I mean? Like that's, to me, it's like, that's a simple one. Like that's a totally, you could see that from a mile away, but they haven't done a thing about it because they could do like, I know there was talks they were trying to integrate. I can't remember what's that thing called where you can like jam and you jam over the internet or whatever. But they were trying to introduce that into Logic as like a proprietary version of that or whatever, and that just never went anywhere either. I was like, man, that would be sick. Like it's one thing to get another piece of software and fool with it and whatever, but it's built into Logic. I'm already there. Like, you know what I mean?
That
like,
could have been great.
Yeah,
integration with that, right? Like,
that could have been really cool. Really cool.
Totally dropped the ball.
Man, they really did. Like even before COVID, because one project of mine is called LFM or Left Field Messiah, and two of the guys are based in LA, and so I spent ages trying to figure out how we could collaborate in real time. And this was pre-COVID. And I tried everything. Like I was doing like private YouTube streaming and stuff, and then trying like OBS options and like just like server to server, like trying all these things. And eventually, right before COVID started, I found out there's this plugin called, I think it was Audio Movers. And since then, there's a bunch of options, but they're always clunky. None of them have been, yeah, you would think at this point Logic would be like, oh, here you go.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. To me, that's an easy one kind of thing because you can kind of do it in Pro Tools now. Like they do have capabilities, but I don't think it's available until you get to the Pro level or however they do the subscription now. Because like I was using Pro Tools for a long time, but of course they went to subscription, and I was like, I don't know this, guys. So I jumped ship to Logic. But
You actually you reminded me. I should get back into it. I want to check on like because even with Mounties with Ryan Dahl, like we're always trying to collaborate, but he's on Main Island, and I'm here now, so it's even like harder to get together. And then like, and then I just Hawksley also from Mounties, but I just co-wrote and produced mix the new Hawksley record that's starting to trickle out, and he still flew out last week so that we could shoot some green screen footage, and it's like it's almost at the point where he wouldn't need to like the new Final Cut that just came out. You don't even need a green screen.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could technically film yourself and then just send me the footage, but then file sizes are too big, and like it's like we're just on the cusp of where it still makes the most sense for him to like, fly from Ontario to here, or talking about this new LFM record. Like the guys will probably still fly down here, but it's like any day now we're going to be at the point where we can officially just all work from homes without a big sacrifice,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's getting close. And like I say, like the Pro Tools one actually works pretty good, but I mean, like, what it's like, it's a huge, if you're not at the, pro level or someone's not footing your bill kind of thing, it's a pretty big expense. Like it's a whole other thing that you have to pay for that kind of thing. But it does work really well, but you're still stuck footing the bill for it kind of thing or whatever. So it's unfortunate, but they started with that FTP thing. So you could I could be working on a session and you can see the session, like you can see kind of like, the hub live kind of thing, but you couldn't do anything necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, you could hear what we were doing and stuff. So then you'd have to FTP it back and then you could view their session, but you couldn't do anything. But now like you can sit and co-mix, or whatever you co-edit, whatever you're doing, and you all can hear and listen at the same time and stuff like that. So it is coming a little bit further, but like I don't know why, because like I really like Logic to me is like, I don't know, I like it for creation purposes better, I guess, but it's not standard, pro standard or whatever. But like the tools are better for, in my opinion, for creation at least. If you want to get mastering, maybe Pro Tools your area, but yeah, it's something that I don't know. I don't know why I haven't done it, because like I know you can do. I think you can do the audio or something. There is a way to share it, but I can't. I've never used it with anybody, so I don't really know how it works. But it would be a sick thing to come up with.
That's because I'm more on the Logic realm. Like I've tried them all, but like just as a keyboard guy, like Logic just always
100%
made the most sense. And I don't like the whole Pro Tools subscription thing, but yeah, like I remember the first time I knew about the streaming thing, it was 2006, and I was in New York, and I was working with Rich Costi at like, and he had done like, Muse and Mars Volta and Franz Ferdinand, all these like bands that I love. And so he was mixing songs, and I just flew out there, and I was like in the studio with him day in, day out, and as we were mixing it. But a lot of it was him just doing the work and me sitting around being like, sounds good. Because this was before like I knew a lot about mixing and stuff like that. So, and then at one point he was like, if you want to just go cruise around town, like I can just send you a link. And this was in 2006. What? And it was just an FTP link, and I could hear in real time everything he was doing. And that was in 2006. And then it took me years of trying to figure out how he did that. And that's when I discovered, like 5 years ago or something, like Audio Movers was the easiest way to just send clients a link. Just like, okay, you guys can just hear what I'm doing in real time. But I like what I want is just to send them the screen as well.
Mhm.
And then so like you can do that with Zoom and FaceTime and stuff, but the audio would always suffer. Like I want it to be, high res enough that they're not suggesting mix changes based on, the wrong reference sounds.
Or compressed crap or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, like the nice thing to do that I should look into now would be for the next Mounties or LFM record is doing that thing where because I know Audio Movers lets you do it, but I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, where it's like it will record into your session. So, and there's like 7 seconds latency and you can see the file showing up which seems insane to me. But
Yeah.
apparently you can.
Yeah, like thinking about like when I went to school. I mean, when I started school in 2006 for engineering, and like we're still cutting tape. Like we still had to learn that skill. You know what I mean? Like, and not to say that it's necessarily like gone away, but it's pretty much gone away. Like it's very few people using it, at least in that like that way. Like people just use it to dump tracks, kind of thing, and stuff like that. But like we learned to cut tape and stuff, and like you know what I mean. Like I remember when we set up Pro Tools FTP, like the first time, it was like, holy shit, like I can send a huge, like this entire session to a person in a few minutes. Like it wasn't this giant stupid processor. You put it on a hard drive or whatever, give it to someone, and you just plug it in. And, you know what I mean? Like all this kind of old way of doing it or whatever. Like I remember when we did that, like we transferred the session file over to the guys in Winter Sleep. And that was like the first time we used it, I think, or one of the first times we used it. And we were like, holy shit, we just transferred a whole like session and like the whole album went over, you know what I mean, in one swoop, and they got all the mat. I was like, holy shit. Couldn't believe it.
That's rad.
But yeah, it was crazy. Like that was a huge step up. Like that little bit. That. Yeah, it was like a humongous step up.
But what I want is that, but for video editing, because like, a lot of the stuff I'm working on, it's like one music video can be, a few hundred gigs easy.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes like up to a terabyte even.
Wow.
And I would love to, and I try and like everything I'm working on, I try and have, I guess daily backups, but then I also make all my active sessions in a cloud folder. So it's like, if your hard drive dies, like you don't lose really anything. But I would like to have, at this point, I'm like probably got like almost 30 terabytes of just data that I'm like constantly trying to just keep backed up. And I'm starting to not film as much because I'm thinking about like, I need more hard drives. I really do want to do like the server thing where I have my own server. I'm not paying for Dropbox or whatever. And then I can collaborate with people and just be like, here's my server. And then they can, we can kind of do collaborative edits. I think that would be a dream.
Yeah, I think it is like, it's slowly coming. I think some of it is restriction of like bandwidth to a certain degree too. Like to try to translate, like if you had a lot of people trying to transfer that type of data all the time, like, I mean, for one thing, like I have gigabit internet at the house and it's pretty good. I mean, it's not slow or anything, but like even to transfer files, like I was trying to do that thing for Joel the other day. He wanted, like guy we had on, Joel Martin, he wanted the episode so he could chop it up and put some stuff out or whatever. So I was like, yeah, man, I'll just give you the whole episode. And I was like, I'll squeeze it for you so it's not so big, but I mean, it was still 50 something gigs or whatever. And like to upload that was like, This is stupid. Like, what are we doing? Like this is it takes forever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I know there's better ways. Like the fact that I can airdrop something like a huge file in like seconds, like what's up with that?
Yeah.
What's up with that? Right? Like, why does that work so well?
Well, and like with Thunderbolt 5 too, like I feel like that's like I'm at the point now where everything is almost everything is Thunderbolt 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I've got like multiple of like the Thunderbolt hubs and stuff like that, and I just have so many drives and so many monitors, like all operating off of Thunderbolt, which is bonkers. But I've maxed it out. So Thunderbolt 5 seems really interesting. But the nice thing about Thunderbolt 3 and 4 is you can actually get 6-foot cables on Temu for like $8 as opposed to like 100. You know,
Shout out Temu again.
Yeah. I think there's a few cables we need to explore on Temu to
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Like I'm pretty much maxed out on mine. Like I got a Mac Mini with a dongle adapter, kind of like a lightning bolt adapter thing or whatever. But it's like a hub, so it's got a bunch of other USB. It's got a USB hub. It's got an SD hub. It's got some more lightning bolts on there. Like so, it's like half speed lightning bolts and whatever because it splits 1 into 4 or whatever. And it's powered and stuff. But like it works really well. Like because we got to plug all this crap into the computer itself. So yeah, it works really well. But you run out of ports pretty quick. That's one thing. I will say that.
Okay, so
we're back.
This is super nerdy. You don't have to put it in, but so this is sort of a temporary situation. But so I've got a PCIe thing here with UAD for like external audio processing. Then I've got 2 more Octo UAD things. Then I've got an OWC hub that goes like turns 1 Thunderbolt into 4. Another OWC that turns 1 Thunderbolt into 4. 3 2 terabyte drives. Another hub that goes 1 to 4. Old school hard drives.
Couple toasters.
Then here I've got 4 more hard drives in there. And then I'm going HDMI to this Samsung here.
Oh yeah.
And then another Thunderbolt to this LG C3, which is the closest thing I've found to an Apple display.
An Apple display is
and then
outrageously priced.
all the audio is going to just UAD Apollo.
Okay.
But it's like a pretty friggin' bonkers situation, and I'm kind of like maxed out.
Oh yeah, and it only gets worse. How do you like your Apollo? You got the rack Apollo? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it's like the 3rd or 4th Apollo I've gone through. I just sort of keep trying out the different ones. For a while I had a studio, and then I had like a mobile studio with like the Arrow as well.
Oh yes.
But yeah, now I'm just kind of consolidating it all together, and so I've got. So I helped actually my pal Jay. He was the product designer for this, and we talked a lot about this because it sort of was fulfilling our needs. So it's just like a big knob radial monitor switcher here. So, so just switch between 2 sets of speakers. You got your sub, your phones. It sounds really good. It's designed by the guy that did the Manly Massive Passive and worked for Neve and stuff. So it's really nice sounding. And then it goes to the Focal Solo 6s and then these Amphions. But then I've wanted more monitors. So I've got my B monitors, which normally would just go to the Amphions, now go to another radial splitter. And I can choose between the Amphions or I've got another pair of Focals in the back of the room. And then eventually what I'm working towards is having in the synth room back there, I'm going to have like just like an iPad Pro that's mirroring this computer with another like wireless keyboard and mouse so that you can run into there, see what your session is, but also have audio going through monitors in there as well. And that's the next step.
It's cool. It's quite the setup, man. You got a cool setup. Awesome. Like it's super cool. Like especially like I guess if you know a little bit about like how it functions or whatever, it's actually pretty sick. Like it's cool. You basically have the setup I would like to have. Couple of rooms, different spaces for different things.
It's just fun. It's just fun to play with toys. A studio guy once told me, it's like never call them toys. Always call it tools.
Like, I had a person say that to me too.
I like thinking of them as toys.
Yeah, I have fun with them. I don't like. I feel like if it's and I shouldn't say about everything, but like certain tools are tools, but a lot of those things are toys. Because if I don't, you're having fun with them. It's not the same.
I know. As soon as I think of something as being work, then I don't work as hard.
Exactly.
I'm not interested anymore.
It's like
That
anything.
sounds like
Yeah.
work now.
If it's work, no. But if it's for play, that's
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's super fun. It's awesome.
But yeah. Anyway, I even though I probably rambled way too much about random shit, I'm sorry to give you like a ton of editing work, but I should probably jump because I got to get prepping for the old parents.
Yeah, man, that's no worries. We're at the like almost past 3 hours. We're at 2 hour mark. Yeah, we're good.
we're pushing probably for one of our longest podcasts ever.
With guests, yeah, for sure.
With
Yeah.
a guest, yeah, for sure. It's up there. It's definitely in the top 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah, that's wicked.
Of,
Oh man,
length.
I super appreciate it. Didn't even look at their notes. We didn't even look at our notes. That was
No,
perfect.
we
Wicked.
had no use for those.
No, perfect. Wicked.
It's great. No,
Well, that's great.
well, yeah, I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking to us. Been a huge fan, like for such a long time.
Yeah,
You've-
man, 100%.
You've done so many cool things. You're beyond creative. You do it all, and you're an inspiration. And I thank you so much for coming on and chatting
Oh,
with us
man.
for so many hours here.
Yeah, appreciate it. Super appreciate it, man.
Thank you. I honestly, I find what you guys are doing is inspiring too, because it's every day you wake up and there's that voice in your head that's like, why bother, and then, or you go, oh, no, like, I'm so excited. I can't wait to do what I do. You know what I mean? And it's like, doesn't matter. Like you have some things you do in life, like are successful, other things nobody knows about. Like it ebbs and flows, and it's like I'm looking around, it's like what's going on in the world around me? Who's making me feel like being a creative person is a positive thing still, And so, yeah, you guys are killing it. So you're inspiring me. So thanks.
Appreciate it, man. Super awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
And feel free to if you're ever wanting to come back on the pod, we'd love to
come
have
back,
you on.
man.
Hey,
Anytime.
friend of the pod now.
Oh, for sure. And I will ramble less. I will have slept a bit more. And I'll also send me a reminder email if I don't put you in touch right away, and I'll get you. I'll get Ryan Dahl on the podcast because he would. He's still doing Limb Lifter and still like making crazier and crazier music every day. So I'm sure he would love. He's working with. Oh man, yeah, he's been working with like so many crazy people. I'll let him fill you in, but yeah.
We appreciate it so
Super
much.
appreciate it, man. Yeah. No, thanks again, man, for coming on and talking with us. And yeah, that was excellent. Super wicked pod.
Great
Really,
talk,
really
man.
appreciate it and really
Great
appreciate your time.
conversation.
Oh man, anytime. Yeah, and let's do it again.
Yeah, dude, 100%. We'll reach out
Okay.
and we'll set her up here.
Ryan and Sam fan here. So yeah,
Awesome,
let's do
man.
it,
Raise the roof up here.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so
Okay.
much, man.